people of YouTube, this is Gray's Guitars. I am Steve Gray, and this is probably the worst acoustic you have ever seen. Kinda plays. So, it plays. I put new strings on it. The strings that were on this previously were the original strings. A little bit about the history. We have Cool Daddy, as inscribed by my uncle at some point in time. We have The Beat, which one of my aunts or uncles, he said he didn't do that one, so it was another one of my aunts or uncles that carved that in at some point in time. This is solid top, back, sides. The only thing that came with the terrible case was this little book here. Show that off, front and back. It says Guitars Method Grade 1. This is dated 1972, but the guitar was definitely made prior to that date. Case-wise, came in this thing. Zero protection. It's basically a tarp. So, yeah. I have to hang it off of the tuner because, like a lot of acoustics, it doesn't have a strap button somewhere else. So that's what's happening there. Bolt-on neck. It's actually got 3 bolts, which is very weird. 1, 2, 3. And they are all flush. There's like a little washer type thing. I can't remember the name of the actual hardware there. Also, it had this doohickey, whatever it is, built into it. I'll take it out of the bag and get close so you can see it. So here is one part. And then here is some sort of old input jack. I'm assuming what these pieces were. Assuming what those pieces were to plug it in. I actually took it out of here because it was broken. I have nothing that plugs into that particular size. Plus the wires are broke, so I'd probably have to resolder it anyway. In terms of bracing, it's just got straight bracing on the top and the bottom. If you want to see the tip of the headstock, there you go. It's kind of wonky. Old style tuners, no bushing. So there's no bushing, so it's very hard to turn the tuners, especially the D string. You got to really put effort in there. It actually squeaks pretty bad. Makes what I would call a moaning noise when you're trying to tune the thing. The nut, I have no idea what this nut is. Let's go ahead and get a close-up of that as well. It's like a 3-ply, maybe plastic or something. Doesn't feel like bone. There's no way it's actually bone, but it's white, then black, then white. Maybe it was a pickguard material or something, although I've never seen a pickguard that thick, so who the heck knows. But it plays very well. Fret material, who the heck knows? It's got kind of a goldish sheen to it after I cleaned it up. The front of the fretboard is lacquered as well. Tuners are not branded, but it's your typical, 3x3 old style tuners. The bridge is a big old honking piece of wood. Instead of pins, there's actually holes in the bottom that do allow a ball end to catch. So initially I was like, oh, maybe this is a nylon guitar, and I'll explain that momentarily, but no, this is just a regular steel string acoustic, and you can't intonate the guitar because this is just a piece of fret wire. It's not cut up into pieces going up and down for individual strings. No, this bad boy is straight across. This is the same material used on the frets, so that is what it is. In terms of intonation, though, it is surprisingly, in tune for a couple of the strings. So I don't know if you can see it on the tuner here, but let's see if we're in tune. All right. A little sharp. That's just the cat. So, 3 of the strings are actually spot on in terms of intonation, which is kind of crazy to me. I don't understand how that is working. So when I said I thought this initially was a nylon string guitar, I've never owned a nylon string guitar. I played like 2 of them, and I think a ukulele, which is also, I guess, technically a nylon. These don't. I was informed these are not nylon tuners, so these are just standard steel string tuners. And the reason I thought it might possibly be a nylon, someone at some point threw steel strings on it at some point in time, was because upon taking the neck off of the guitar, there's no truss rod in this thing. So there's no way to adjust the action. I did have to shim the neck a little bit. What I did is I used an index card, I think folded in half once. So an index card is about 0.6 millimeters. What that is in inches, don't ask me. I like using millimeters because it just makes sense in my mind. So I folded it in half to be 1.2 millimeters. And then in addition to that, I was told I had to either put a completely different bridge on this, which I didn't really want to because I don't want to put money into this thing. I'll explain the history momentarily, but it's just a big old block of wood with enough room to get strings in there. You know, it functions as is, it does what it's supposed to do, and it's bolted, no glue, into the guitar. It's kind of interesting because you can use it without nuts, but there is both a nut and a washer on the other side of that, and I found that out because I took this off to try to sand it down a little bit. I don't want to do a lot, so you take a piece of sandpaper on a flat surface and just go back and forth with the bridge to take off a little bit to get better action, and the action on this isn't too bad. The low E string I think is about 2.5, which for an acoustic, a little bit higher than you want, but not terrible. The high E is actually about the same because what I had to do is the high E unfortunately kind of killed the nut. Whatever this material is, it was too deep in the nut over time. You know, you're talking 60, 70-year-old guitar. So I did the super glue and baking soda trick. We basically take a tiny bit of baking soda, mix it with a little bit of super glue, and quickly put it in the nut slot. And you can file it down. I have not done that because it doesn't bother me where it is currently. But essentially what was happening is when I did that, the open string was buzzing before I did that. So I did do a little bit of work. You know, I shimmed the neck, sanded down the bridge a little bit, and then we got the new strings as well. Other than that, polished the frets a little bit too. The frets were straight up black. But the history behind this guitar is, I believe it was created or made, most likely in a shop class back in probably his high school days, by my great uncle. My great uncle then was not using it or never played it, and then gave it to my uncle, and I think one of my other aunts or uncles got a hold of it somewhere, and that's where the beat came on, because the cool daddy, that was my oldest uncle, and then the beat, as I said, one of my other aunts or uncles, who the heck knows, did that. We found this in the crawl space at my grandmother's house and grandfather's house. My grandfather passed away several years ago, and my grandmother passed away, I think it was 1 or 2 years ago now at this point in time, and this was just something that we dug out, and I was like, well, I'm the guitar person, gotta keep that, and I just haven't got around to messing with it. You know, I've always been more of an electric person than an acoustic person, even though I frequently play unplugged the electrics, being that I don't want to disturb some other people, but that is what it is. Hopefully my living situation changes in the future. But it holds in tune. I mean, the strings are brand new, so it may not be super holding in tune. I usually don't put the strap on it. I did it for this video. I have it off the tuner. I know you can buy something that goes around like the top of the nut or something, but I don't see myself playing this out. Another interesting thing about this is the scale length is kind of wonky. So let's go ahead, take out the tape measure. It's not 24 3/4. I thought it was. It's like 24 3/8 going from the neck to the bridge. If we go just to the nut to the 12th fret. Where the heck is the 12th fret? No side dots, which is extremely annoying. It's about, what is it, like 12 1/4, I would say, to the 12th fret. Nah, more like 12. It's more like 12 1/8 to the 12th fret. So it is slightly under the Gibson scale length. I tried to use my neck checker, you know, to check for relief in the neck. Not that I can do anything about it anyway. but it doesn't fit. The 24 3/4 does not fit, so it was designed correctly, being that the frets were spaced out correctly in terms of where the bridge is. So it is, as I said, I think they call it might be like a Bacardi scale length, the 594, where it's like slightly under, because they messed up on some of the earlier Gibsons. So that is kind of my guess. Strings that I put on it are, I think they're just 10 to 52s. The Ernie Ball Earthbound or Earthwood, whatever the heck it was. I don't know much about acoustic guitar strings, so I kind of went to my local mom and pop, asked what his thoughts were. He told me to put it in a garbage, essentially. He was like, it's never going to intonate properly. The neck angle is terrible, blah, blah, blah. He was like, this is what you can try to do to make it kind of play. And I don't think it's that terrible. I mean, in terms of intonation, yeah, you're not going to be spot on. Everything's kind of sharp. But if you're just, you know... messing around on the cowboy chords, like who's on an acoustic guitar, how many people are playing past the 12th fret anyway? Most of acoustics, they don't even go past the 15th fret half the time when it hits the neck joint. Let's see, 12, 13, 14. This one is 14, 15, 16, 17. It's got 18 frets. Let's see, 3, 5, 7, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, this has 18 frets. So I'm assuming this was designed after some sort of small parlor guitar. Maybe it was able to hook up to an amp at some point, as I showed you that weird metal piece, but that amp did not come with it. Unfortunately, it would have been cool if I could find whatever the heck this plugged into. Maybe my great uncle was actually a guitar player and I never knew. He died when I was very young, so honestly I didn't know him that well. But it's cool that we got an old guitar up and running, old project. Thank you for watching. There's a little hole in the back because, where is the hole? There it is. That metal piece, instead of being glued in, it got screwed in because of how thin the top and back wood are. Went straight through the thing when he was, I'm assuming when he was trying to set that up. But I mainly took that out too because it was rattling in here. So yeah, we don't need rattling. If I do ever put a pickup in it, it'll probably end up going in the sound hole. 9 out of 10. But nothing fancy. It works. I would have no problem giving this to somebody and them playing it and them saying, all right, it ain't too bad. As I said, no idea what wood is. The neck is, I mean, it's solid everywhere. So, I mean, the quality of wood that was used on this thing is really good. I'm just going to be straightforward with you. The quality of wood on this is really good. The neck barely moves with full string tension. The old strings disintegrated pretty much. I was trying to unwind them and every single one snapped at the tuner, minus like the low E because that's the thickest. But this was just kind of a cool little in-depth video. You know, wanted to bring this guitar to light, show it off to the world, show off what an old family member did, and maybe it'll give me motivation to build my own guitar one day. Who knows? So far, I have just stuck with kind of parts casters and badly painting instruments in the style of Eddie Van Halen. There we go, that guy right there on the wall. But thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button, turn that notification bell, leave a like, share, comment, all that fun stuff. And as always, have a good one.